The alien emissary sat motionless, its translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with the weight of unspoken words. It was a Zyrathian, one of the galaxy's elder races, known for their cryptic warnings and cautious dealings. On the conference table between it and the delegation of human scientists and military officials lay the artifact, a star map, etched into an alloy unknown to Earth's metallurgy, discovered on a world long dead. "We found this on Kepler 442b, the Zyrathian emissary finally spoke through its translator. "It predates all known civilizations, including ours. We believe it is meant for you." The humans pored over it for months. At first, they thought it was a cartographic puzzle, some kind of ancient survey of celestial bodies. But as they decoded its structure, a grim pattern emerged. These weren't just stars. They were locations. Graves. Every pinpoint of light, every line connecting them, mapped out something impossible, the resting places of humans. Not humanoids. Not genetic cousins. Humans. The implications sent shockwaves through the scientific community. DNA samples retrieved from a dig site on Gliese 581c, one of the coordinates from the map, showed that the remains were identical to modern Homo sapiens. Carbon dating placed them at least 80,000 years old, thousands of years before humans were even supposed to have left Earth. The realization came slowly. We weren't the first. Mankind had been here before. But that wasn't the terrifying part. The terrifying part was that someone had erased them. No ruins, no artifacts, no recorded history. Just the dead, scattered across the cosmos like whispers of a forgotten age. The deeper humanity dug, the clearer it became. Every human expansion, every attempt at interstellar colonization, had already happened before. And each time, something had reset the clock. "We're missing something," Dr. Elena Vasquez muttered as she cross-referenced the star map with known exoplanets. "These aren't just graves. These are the limits of our expansion." She wasn't wrong. Wherever the remains were found, humanity had only just begun reaching. Kepler 442b, Gliese 581c, Proxima b, all worlds just on the cusp of colonization. As if each site marked the exact point where humanity was always stopped. It didn't take long for the first classified reports to emerge. Colony ships vanished without a trace. Advanced probes sent beyond the solar system, returning corrupted data or not returning at all. Space itself seemed to push back, an invisible force ensuring that humanity never strayed too far. Then, they found the writing. Etched into a rock face on a barren moon orbiting Tau Ceti F, buried beneath layers of ice, were the words. "Run." The script was human. The letters matched no known civilization, but the language was unmistakable. The message was simple. Urgent. And impossibly old. Humanity had left itself a warning. But warnings were not enough. Not when the stars began to change. Not when colonies that should have been thriving went silent overnight. Not when astronomers detected anomalies, vast, dark shapes moving against the cosmic background, shifting between systems with purpose. Something was out there. And it had noticed that humanity was getting too close. But this time, it was different. This time, we knew. And this time, we would not be erased. The first disappearance went unnoticed. The second raised questions. By the fifth, the United Nations Space Command declared a state of emergency. Something vast, intelligent, and terrifyingly precise was wiping out entire expeditions before they could even establish a foothold. The pattern was clear: any attempt at interstellar expansion beyond the Sol system was being snuffed out. But the missing ships were just the beginning. Back on Earth, astronomers detected an impossible anomaly. At the coordinates corresponding to the oldest graves on the map, something moved. An object, or perhaps a structure, hidden in the darkness of deep space, vast enough to occlude entire sectors of starlight. And it was getting closer. In a classified underground facility beneath the deserts of Arizona, Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team pored over new transmissions intercepted from deep space probes. The signals weren't just noise, they were responses. Someone or something was listening. It's like an old security system, Vasquez muttered, scanning the erratic waveforms. Every time we move past a certain point, the system activates. It's been watching us, waiting for us to reach the boundary. General Carter, a battle-hardened veteran of Earth's wars, leaned forward, his voice tight. And what happens when we cross that line? No one answered. Because the truth was obvious, humanity had crossed it already. And now, the response was coming. Then, something changed. The alien star map, the impossible artifact that started it all, reacted. For decades, it had been inert, an enigma of metal and ancient etchings. But now, its surface shifted, symbols rearranging themselves as if responding to some unseen trigger. Jesus, one of the researchers whispered. It's like, it was waiting for us to realize. New coordinates appeared, ones not present before. Coordinates inside the solar system. The message was clear. We left something behind. The coordinates led to a place no one expected. Not deep space. Not an alien world. Antarctica. Buried beneath 3 miles of ice, satellites detected a structure, a vast, geometric construct, impossibly old. Long before recorded history, before Homo sapiens had even built their first civilization, someone had hidden something beneath the frozen wasteland. Expedition teams were assembled. Dr. Vasquez, against her better judgment, volunteered to go. By the time the team descended into the frozen abyss, instruments failed. Cameras malfunctioned. It was as if the structure was rejecting modern technology, forcing them to rely on primitive means. And then they found the door. Carved with symbols matching the ones from the star map. The same symbols found at every human grave in the galaxy. The door opened on its own. Inside, they found them. Frozen, preserved in stasis pods older than any civilization on Earth. Humans. Not distant ancestors. Not evolutionary offshoots. Modern. Their faces were familiar. Their bodies were identical. Their DNA was perfectly human. And then, as if triggered by their presence, the pods began to thaw. One by one, the long-dead humans stirred, their eyes flickering open. One of them, a man whose body bore scars unlike anything seen before, looked directly at Vasquez. His lips parted. And in perfect, unaccented English, he spoke. You finally made it. The frozen survivors had a story to tell. A story of war. Not against aliens. Not against some unknown force. Against something older. Something inhuman. We tried before, the man, who called himself Orn, explained. We left Earth. We expanded. We thrived. But every time, they found us. He looked at Vasquez, his eyes dark with memories of an existence erased. They don't just erase civilizations. They erase the idea of us. His words sent chills through the room. They let you evolve. Let you think you're the first. Then, when you reach too far, they reset the experiment. Vasquez felt her breath hitch. Experiment? Orr nodded. This isn't just about stopping you from leaving. It's about controlling what you become. Then, alarms screamed. Satellites detected movement, hundreds of unknown objects appearing on the edges of the solar system, blotting out the stars. They weren't ships. They were something worse. And they were coming. For humanity. For the final reset. But this time, we were ready. The first impact came swift and silent. A listening post on the far side of Titan went dark, its final transmission garbled static. Minutes later, deep space sensors detected distortions at the edges of the Kuiper belt. Not ships, something larger. Something alive. General Carter stood inside the war room, his expression set in stone. They're testing us. Dr. Vasquez, still reeling from the revelation in Antarctica, spoke through clenched teeth. And when they realize we're not running, they'll finish what they started. Humanity had been erased before. But not this time. Not when we finally understood the rules of the game. Not when Oren and the frozen survivors, the first humans, had shared their knowledge. For the first time, we knew how to fight. This has happened before, Oren had explained, sitting in the debriefing chamber beneath the Antarctic ice. We expanded. We built worlds. We reached the edges of what we thought was our own ambition. His face darkened. They were already waiting. They? Vasquez had asked. Oren's gaze had turned to the holographic display of the approaching anomalies. The architects. The name was a poor translation. They weren't builders. They weren't even a species. They were something else, a force that existed only to control. They don't destroy civilizations outright, Oren had explained. They erase them. Cleanly. Efficiently. No ruins. No history. No memory. He leaned forward. They turn every species into a dead end. Vasquez had shivered. Why? Oren's response was bitter. Because we were never meant to leave. The first response was immediate. Earth mobilized. The United Nations Space Command, once an exploratory body, was now a war council. The Mars Defense Grid, once built for asteroid deflection, was now weaponized. Every station, every orbital platform, every scrap of technology once meant for peaceful expansion was now a spear pointed outward. For the first time in history, humanity was united. Because the architects were coming. And we would not kneel. The first enemy craft emerged just beyond Neptune's orbit. It was not a ship. It was a fracture in space, a shifting void that bled dark, writhing forms, constructs of unknown material, moving without propulsion, without engines, without any discernible origin. It wasn't a fleet. It was an undoing. And it was hungry. The outer defense grid opened fire. Kinetic rounds, directed energy beams, nuclear payloads, all aimed at a force that had never been fought before. For a moment, silence. Then, the impossible happened. The architects hesitated. Oren exhaled sharply, watching the sensors from the war room. They didn't expect us to fight back. For the first time in untold millennia, the architects were opposed. They had culled us before. Wiped us out. Reset the cycle. But now, something was different. We weren't just built to expand, Oren muttered, gripping the console. We were built to resist. Vasquez turned to him. What are you saying? He looked at her, his expression both fearful and triumphant. I'm saying we weren't their mistake. We were their rebellion. The star map had one final set of coordinates. Not a grave. Not a trap. But a message. A warning left behind by those who had fallen before. Buried deep beneath the ice of Europa, in a chamber untouched by time, was the last testament of the first humans. It read, "We were not the first. We will not be the last. But if you have found this, then for the first time, the cycle is breaking. Do not run. Do not kneel. Do not forget. Fight." And so, humanity did. The first kill was a shock. Humanity had never fought the architects before, no civilization had. But now, as orbital defense platforms unleashed nuclear fury, something happened that had never happened before. An architect construct died. The anomaly shimmered, its dark form collapsing, unraveling into fragments of unknown matter that dissolved into nothingness. The void that had once been impenetrable bled. And for the first time in a war spanning untold millennia, the architects hesitated. General Carter's voice boomed over the command channels. "We have a confirmed kill. Repeat, the enemy is not invincible. All forces, press the attack." Across the system, humanity's response was immediate. From Mars, warships launched, armed with prototype weapons reverse-engineered from alien technology. From Earth, thousands of defense satellites oriented toward the incoming wave of anomalies. Every colony, every ship, every station stood as one. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't just surviving. We were fighting back. But the architects were not idle. The next wave was different. Where the first had been slow, testing, the second was a maelstrom of destruction. Constructs evolved, their forms shifting in real time to counter our weapons. The void weapons they wielded didn't fire beams or projectiles. They erased. Entire ships, entire existences, swallowed in an instant. Earth's orbital fleet fought back with everything it had. Railguns fired at near-light speed. Nuclear warheads detonated in a chain reaction across Neptune's orbit. AI-directed swarms of autonomous drones flooded the battlefield. The skies above Mars burned. The moons of Jupiter trembled. And still, humanity held the line. As the battle raged, Dr. Vasquez and Oren worked frantically inside the Antarctic base. The ancient messages of the first humans held one last clue, hidden beneath layers of encrypted data. Then Vasquez saw it. Her blood ran cold. "They're not trying to kill us," she whispered. "They're trying to keep us from leaving." Oren looked at her, confused. "They don't wipe us out," Vasquez continued. "They erase the evidence. They control the timeline." She turned to the holographic star map, her voice shaking. "This isn't a war. It's a containment protocol." The architects didn't fear humanity's existence. They feared our potential. Every time humanity reached too far, they reset us, not because we were weak, but because we were something else entirely. "They don't just erase civilizations," Vasquez murmured. "They erase competition." Oren's expression darkened. "We're their only real threat." With Earth's defenses reaching their limits, the War Council faced a decision. Do we fight to the last man? Or do we break free? That's when Oren revealed the last secret of the first humans. "They built a way out," he said, voice grim. "A weapon. A doorway." Coordinates lit up on the screen. A hidden facility, not on Earth, not on Mars, but deep beneath the crust of Venus. The first humans hadn't just left behind a warning. They had left behind a solution. A weapon designed not to kill the architects, but to unshackle humanity from their control. As the architects surged toward Earth, the final battle began. The colonies of Mars launched every last ship. Earth's defenses fired until their barrels melted. The moons of Saturn became battlegrounds, humanity's warriors fighting on the frozen wastes. And as the architects bore down on humanity's homeworld, a single strike team descended into Venus. Vasquez. Oren. A team of the best minds and soldiers Earth had to offer. Their mission? Activate the first human's last weapon. And free mankind. For eons, they had controlled us. For millennia, they had erased us. But this time, they had let us remember. And now, as Vasquez and Oren reached the core of the ancient facility, as the last defenses of Earth burned in the sky, as the architects prepared their final reset, humanity did what it had never done before. We finished what we started. And we broke the cycle. The facility on Venus was a tomb of forgotten power. Deep beneath the toxic storms and crushing heat, Humanity's lost ancestors had built something impossible, a structure older than the pyramids, older than Earth's written history. Not a weapon in a traditional sense. Not a bomb, not a fleet of warships. But a key. A key to the prison humanity had been trapped in for millennia. As Vasquez and Oren descended into the core chamber, the walls shifted, panels illuminating with golden light, glyphs rearranging themselves in response to their presence. "This is it," Oren whispered, awe in his voice. The machine was waking up. Above Venus, the architects screamed. Across the void, their constructs converged, shifting into new, terrible forms. Some stretched like living shadows, others folded through space, bending reality itself to reach the facility before it was too late. Earth was barely holding on. The last of the Mars fleet had been annihilated. The orbital stations were gone. General Carter's final transmission was a simple, defiant message. "Finish it." Vasquez's fingers flew across the control interface, activating sequences that no living human had seen before. The machine rumbled, ancient circuits charging with power that had been dormant for eons. "What does it do?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. Oren's expression was grim. "It wakes us up." And then, the message appeared. Not a recording. Not a transmission. But a memory, buried deep within the facility's ancient systems, a memory of the First War. The war before history. The war before Earth. Humanity had not been born on Earth. We had not evolved in isolation. We had been made. And we had been imprisoned. The architects had not created us, but they had feared us. Long ago, we had broken free from something greater, something more ancient than the galaxy itself. The architects had been tasked with keeping us contained, ensuring that every attempt to reclaim our place among the stars was met with silence. But they failed. Every reset, every erased civilization, had only made us stronger. We learned. We adapted. And now, standing in the heart of the Exodus Gate, Vasquez understood the final truth. This was never a war for survival. It was a jailbreak. The Exodus Gate came online. Across the solar system, every architect construct froze, their forms distorting as if something had shattered their grip on reality. The veil was lifting. The solar system was no longer a prison. The invisible walls that had caged humanity, that had erased our past, that had made us forget what we truly were breaking down. And then, the architects did something they had never done before. They ran. Earth was in ruins. The colonies had suffered. Millions were dead. But humanity had done something no species had ever done before. We had broken free. And for the first time in countless resets, we had a choice. To rebuild. To expand. To find out who we really were before the architects stole it from us. Oren turned to Vasquez, watching as the Exodus Gate recalibrated itself, no longer just a key, but a beacon. A beacon calling out to whatever was out there. To whoever we used to be. "What now?" Vasquez whispered. Oren smiled, watching the stars shift as the true map of the universe revealed itself. "Now," he said, "we go home."